Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. It's very rare that I get to show off something new that I've added to the collection because I've got a lot of stuff now and it's harder to find things that I don't have or haven't seen in person before. And what you can see here doesn't look so impressive with the lights on, but we'll chuck a black light on it in a second. This is an opal from the Orongo region in Namibia. That's right, Namibian African opal. So this comes from the southwestern region of Africa, pretty close to the coast, and it doesn't look like much. So you can see that it doesn't have any kind of precious opal play of color. That's because it's a highlight opal. So I'll just change up the camera settings and we'll chuck the black light on it and you'll see the magic. And here we are in the dark with the black light on it. And have a look at this. Now, if you were mining for this and had a black light, you would have no worries in the world. This thing is even brighter than it looks on camera, and it looks pretty bright on camera, but in person, this is just classic like highlighter green. Ridiculously bright. So when they talk about opal lighting up under a black light, this does not compare. This is not what you expect to see. This is an absolute... It just looks like pure uranium rock. It is bright green like you wouldn't believe. It comes across okay on camera, but the camera does panic a little bit when there's no lights on. And you can see a little bit of the host matrix on the back. Under a different wavelength of UV, like Riley Gunn's torch, it goes bright purple. So that's also interesting. I'm not sure why that is, but this bright green of the opal is very stereotypical of this type. Super cool stuff. So that's a quick little show and tell of a piece of opal that I have not been able to get my hands on for a while. So if you're after some yourself, have a hunt online. You should be able to find some out there. It's not that expensive. It's quite a cool little specimen to have. I'm not going to be able to make too much out of that, but it's nice to just have a big chunk of it, and I will treasure that one in my collection. Now, the second little thing that I want to say is I have partnered up with Steve, and he has sent me a bunch of this. So what is it, you ask? This is fairy opal from Queensland, and I have had so many requests to do matrix opal treatments and stuff from both miners and viewers alike, and I'm going to take a bit of a scientific approach. And you can see here I've already marked this slab up for cutting. I wanted nice big chunky bits so that I could slice and dice and do a lot of different tests on this. So you can see the thickness here. I've got some thinner cuts and then I've got some thicker cuts as you go across. That'll just be testing a lot of treating depths. But also along the line where they're consistent, we'll also do tests on things like vacuum versus no vacuum for sugar and oil treatments, things like cooking versus acid, all of these kind of things. We're going to just make up grids of this stuff and we're going to slice it up, dice it up, and then I'm going to use that to come to somewhat of an understanding of what the best treatment methods are. And by best, I mean it could be a lot of things. We could take into account the cost of the treatments, whether the stabilization is better or not, whether the carbonization and the blackness is better or not, or more consistent. Sure, it's not going to be excessively comprehensive in terms of the scientific method. I would like to do a lot more, but for that I'm going to need a lot more time and a lot more material. The material I think I've got covered with Steve helping me out. Very good of him to donate this stuff for the cause. And of course, if I find the best method out there, he'll be the first one to know and be able to implement it. I did ask for some of the roughest stuff he could find because I've got a few stabilization methods that I want to put head to head, some that you may not have seen before. And for that I wanted super porous stuff. So if I zoom in here, this is not that bad, this material. I was actually thinking he might have even more rough material where it's really loose and sandy. You rub your finger over it, you feel it all coming off. This one does a little bit. It is super porous. You can see all those little pits and holes, and that's where the stabilization techniques are going to come in and see whether you get that nice even polish or not. Now, of course, this was the worst stuff he could possibly find for me, which is still pretty bad, but not terrible. I've seen much worse, and I was hoping for much worse, but we'll work with that. At least it's consistent. And then he sent over some little better pieces just to hit with the treatment methods, both stabilization and the carbonization. When I've selected a better or a top few, and then I'll just send him a bunch of these little discs and he can look at it in person himself. So yeah, this is the material that we'll end up with treating, and hopefully it comes out really well. But for now, we're going to test it on the real poor stuff, though it's not as poor as I thought. And trust me, there is backup. We have about 5 kilos of the stuff. This is probably 600 grams or so. We have a lot more than this, so I've got plenty of tries, plenty of sample. So what I want from everyone in the comments is if you've heard of any kind of weird stabilizations or treatments or anything, just drop it in the comments and I'll add it to the list of things that I want to try out. I've got room for hundreds of tests, so if you've got anything, please let me know. You can email me as well if it's a top secret method or anything like that, and I'll source all the stuff and get it tested. We're going to be doing a lot of cooking and stabilizing and baking and vacuuming and acid treating, and the list goes on. There are so many options out there and I want to try them all, so we'll see what comes out with the best treatment, gets the best polish, gets the best final stone, and hopefully doesn't break the bank, though some of the tests are going to cost a fair bit. But you know what? In the name of science, I'll do it anyway. So yeah, please comment below or send me an email at roysrocks@yahoo.com. The videos may not come out soon for this one. I've got some carving videos to come up, but I'll be working on this in the background and hopefully get some interesting results. I'll probably do in-depth videos on each of the methods themselves as well, just in case it's the one you want to go for, because my best might not be your best. So by all means, you can always follow along and try them out and you can choose your own best. Everyone has different opinions and it's not right or wrong. You just have different reasons for picking what's your favorite. By all means, I'm not going to destroy anyone's methods, but I do want to just see what works, what doesn't work, and what works really well and consistently. And hopefully it doesn't cost too much. We'll see. Anyway, I better get to it, so catch you guys in the next video.